We begin our day. Maybe you've heard by now, whether it's social media. I think I heard the gang on TexAgs. I had a busy morning. I didn't get to listen as much as I love to. I did when I was driving in, and they asked a phenomenal question. I know during the go hour, David, Olin, Shireen, heard them talk about it, about, will the first month of the season tell us anything about Aggie football? And a good debate. I thought it was a lively debate. It was fun. But I think I heard David talk about, we got the release of all the players from all the teams. We didn't know the players yet, who are going to be at SEC Media Days next week. I knew the first two for A&M were a lock. And then it should have been obvious. Coach Elko went with the team captains. So that means Marcel Reed, first quarterback since Kellen Mond in 2019, Caleb, 2019. See, this morning, when this was announced, Caleb, and what is it, Rapoli, Caleb R, Caleb Bones, I don't know what to call you anymore. Caleb said 2018, and he tried to put me on the path to lie to everybody, and I don't know why he does this, which is why anytime Caleb gives me any info or data, I got to put 3 other sources to go get it right. It's evil, folks. I live in an evil world, but I know now. Anyway, Marcel Reed will be at SEC Media Days. Coach Elko went with all the captains because I knew Reed and Ratcliffe, like that was a gimme. And it's the first time we have a quarterback going for A&M since Kellen Mond in 2019, Caleb. Ratcliffe, Marcus Ratcliffe, he is going to be all SEC. Could he be an All-American? Why not? And then Damian Sanford. And that's the one I wasn't sure because he's injured. We don't know when he will debut during the season. But the team captains are going to SEC Media Days for Texas A&M. And a reminder, a week from tomorrow will be Aggie Day. Wednesday, July 22nd, will be A&M second half of the second session. A&M will be closing down. And Wednesday's the day. Opens with Bama. You got Florida. I wish I could remember the 14, but there's not a wasted day. Days 1 and 2 are kind of somewhat slowish. Wednesday is the marquee day. Oh, and then they saved Texas and Georgia for the final day. It's very weighted on Wednesday, Thursday. But A&M are sending the captains. Marcel Reed, Marcus Ratcliffe, Damian Sanford. So I figured first hour, and I'm going to ask Olin this question too. And I'm sure he's already thought about this because he's going to be down there with the entire TexAgs crew. They'll do TexAgs Live all week. I think all 5 days, even Friday. Maybe they fly back Thursday night. I didn't ask. I don't know. We'll find out together. But the question. So here's for you. What is the question? And it can be questions, but what would you want to learn, whether it's from A&M or other, but really from A&M, the contingent, Elko, Reed, Ratcliffe, Sanford. What would you want to learn at SEC Media Days? What is your burning question? Because I find myself fascinated when I just ask that of myself. Because I want to know, entering the season, how good is the offensive line going to be? Not a question you can answer at SEC Media Days. That's a question that has to be answered in gameplay, real competition. It cannot be answered through summer football, spring practice, or fall ball. You do not know how good your line of scrimmages will be until it's tested in game action. I don't know if we'll know that until week 6 or 7 or even 8, to be honest with you. Because we'll get the initial month worth of data. There'll be adjustments. The players themselves will evolve during the season in the system and within their own individual curves. I mean, that's a season-long story. We'll know, and we'll know immediately if they're bad. We just don't know the upside because that will be a ongoing development. We'll just know if they're bad or not. And that's not like, oh, lose negative. No, that's how the process works. What questions would you want answered at SEC Media Days? What would you ask Reed, Radcliffe, or Sanford, the players? I would kind of ask, what is Hemp Hill's defensive philosophy? I'm not sure if we get more than, create chaos and be aggressive on every down? Would there be a better answer? I'd love to know what Lyle Hemphill's style is. Does he punch puppies, break whiskey bottles? Does he throw things? Is he that calm, cool, stone cold-blooded killer? I'd like to know more about Hemphill as a DC. I don't know how much context the players could give to that. It would be great to get a better picture of him and his style. Because, there's many different ways, right? And there is the DCs that look like they're going to die of a heart attack any minute on the sideline. Right? And then there's the DCs that just look stone cold, like their pulse, their never gets over, heartbeat rate never gets over 50. So I would like to know Hemphill. I'd love to know more about Hemphill. And I guess Elko could answer that. And Elko, one of the things I love about him, and have you ever noticed that his answers have some meat and substance to them? He'll talk football. So I'd love to know more about Hemphill. A lot more, actually. He fascinates me. He is hand-chosen by Elko. He has worked with Elko at other stops. I feel like Elko has identified him for some time as the guy. So I am quite excited to see him in action. Don't know about you. And I think Elko learned about how hands-off to be and not to be with his team, his defense, what he does best. There was lessons learned maybe in year one where he had to step in and take it all over again. And I don't think he probably has to do that with Hemphill, but lessons learned. So for me, if I can get that maybe, you got Ratcliffe, Sanford, two of them are defenders anyway. But what would you, and text me, what would you hope that you could learn? What question would you ask of the A&M contingent at SEC Media Days? Now, it's always tricky. Remember, a lot of the questions you would ask will never be answered at SEC Media Days. But what would you ask? Blake, class of 13, how are you going to beat TU? They would say score more points. Elko would tell you, he would acknowledge 0-2 is unacceptable. This is Texas A&M. He would tell you he knows how it affects the fan base. He would tell you that it affects their end of the season, their plans, their punch into the postseason. Elko would acknowledge what losing the last game means. He would acknowledge what it means for the fan base. He's acknowledged what the Texas game means since the day he got here. But I'm pretty sure he wouldn't post the new game plan and adjustments he has for Cam Coleman in Texas. But I think Elko would acknowledge that that's something they have to fix. Over the past 2 years, when the start of fall camp comes in, Elko kind of has stated what their new focus and goal is. Like after the first year and the awful November, he talked about and emphasized finishing. This year they finished. They won 11 games. I know they lost the last 2, so we could debate the concept of finish, but they did. They went 11-1. They fixed the fail November. They fixed the fail November, right? So what will be his statement of emphasis for this year? Is it, we got to win the last game? Is he going to state it that clearly? We can't enter whatever postseason with a loss. It's win the last game. Now, you got to win all the ones before it, too. He doesn't ignore what was gained. It's what's the next progress step forward. I'm fascinated to see what he says. And that would be either the first one he does a fall camp or a State of the Union when the players report. I'm looking forward to, I wonder if anyone will ask that, to be fair with you. So those are the A&M players. Reed, Ratcliffe, Sanford. Elko sending his captains. First A&M quarterback, Caleb, could you take this down as a note? First A&M quarterback since 2019, Kellen Mond. I love when you send a quarterback. Always feel like the teams that do, that's confidence. Teams that don't, you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a leader. You don't have a face of the program, or you're trying to hide something. I'm not kidding when I say that. I know that's not 100% true, but if you can't send your quarterback, something's not right. Something's not right if you can't send your quarterback. I've always thought that to myself. Here's highlights for me of other players being sent. Auburn sending Byron Brown. He is one of the guys that I've never seen a player, never, strong word, almost never seen a player who has gotten this much coverage without playing a snap in the SEC. Remember something, he is allegedly maybe the third best quarterback. Will single-handedly resurrect Auburn. Georgia sending Gunnar Stockton. Why do I feel like he's -1 win? I don't mean plus, but minus. And when they're supposed to be 12-0, he's the reason they're 11-1, which he can win 11 games. You're a pretty good quarterback. LSU is not sending Sam Leavitt. LSU is not sending Sam Leavitt. Trinidad Chambliss will be there for Ole Miss. Trinidad, yes, that's Louis Bellina with Sports Radio 1150 and 93.7 The Zone. How did y'all find a judge that was so favorable for you? And I'd be kicked out of SEC Media Days. Dang. Other highlights. Mississippi State is sending quarterback Kamario Taylor, and I had to Google who he is. But that's a me thing, not a you thing. OU is sending John Mateer, and they should. South Carolina is sending Lenore Sellers. And if Kendall Briles can't resurrect him, it is time to burn South Carolina football to the ground. Texas is sending Arch Manning. Oh. A&M, of course, Marcel Reed. That's some of the highlight players that'll be at SEC Media Days. We'll take our first timeout of the day. Be back 3 minutes, 28 seconds. We're just beginning. It is the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Residential, commercial, industrial services. It's what they do at CC Electric. It's the Louis Bellina Show, Tuesday on The Zone.
You can get the podcasts of Texans Live, The Louis Bellina Show, or Chip Howard at Zone1150.com, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
I want to stick with Aggie football for a bit. You probably heard this. This is oldish news. I think I was gone, but Mike Elko selected to the Dodd Trophy preseason watch list. That's Coach of the Year nomination. And then, and I wish I could remember the who, so I apologize if this was you, but Mike Elko is forcing Texas A&M back into the national spotlight. And that's already happened. That is a true statement. Mike Elko got A&M into the CFP for the first time in school history. Mike Elko twice has had A&M like a game away from the SEC championship game. He won 11 games last year. But there's more to it than just that, if I could. Mike Elko is a highly likable personality. He's serious without coming off as this overly intense, kind of spasmodic freak. He's got this light touch. Like he's always got humor mixed in with the seriousness. He's quotable. He does not have a single session without something he says going viral. Because he speaks kind of honest and plainly. And no, he doesn't give away the farm. He's not sitting there just spitting on other coaches or saying things for clicks and likes. He speaks kind of ball. But again, he has this funny side to him, this light touch. He comes off as a human. There's way too many coaches that come off as not human. Their personalities, they're hiding from view. They want to be left alone. Or they look like they've been locked up with their projector watching film their whole life, so they don't know how to interact with other people. They don't come off as human. Elko comes off as a dude. His confidence is aura. He's likable. And guess what? Here's a bottom line in all of sports. I think I've said this since the very first day in the history of the First Word with Louis Bellina and the Louis Bellina Show, which, by the way, is 25 years and a month old. I don't know. Someone updated me because I forgot how old the show is. We celebrated our 20th anniversary in style. Someone was like, "What? You didn't do a 25th anniversary thing?" No, we did 20 pretty big. And I thought we were going to do 28, 21, but we'd been drinking so long it didn't make sense to celebrate 20. But the Louis Bellini show is 25 years and like a month now old. Woohoo! We made it. But anyway, back to Mike Elko. This is about him, not me. Okay? His confidence is infectious to everyone. But here's the biggest thing. Period. What does he do? What does he have? Winning. In all of sports, all these things, he's likable. He heals lepers. He can turn, wine from water and bread. He walked on water. Any coach, this is an Elko thing. You got to win. None of the other things matter unless you win. He won at Duke. Dave Bartu mentioned his Duke coaching grade is insane. And now he's continued it at A&M. You got to be a winner, or all these wonderful things I said are irrelevant. Winner, 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 winner. And all of it is backed up by winning. And he wins. And he's now kind of starting to establish, and he wins anywhere because he won at Duke. And what he did there, high grades. And he's come to A&M, a historically underachieving program, and took him to their first CFP, which would be overachieving by A&M standards, right? So, everything I said, and he's a winner. Think about he's a winner. And that's the aura. That's the confidence. That's what he radiates. He's a winner. And he knows it. He knows he's going to win. He has total belief in what he's doing. So Mike Elko is forcing Texas A&M back into the national spotlight. If you kind of pay attention, he does all the shows here and there. He's not some media hoe looking for every Mike, Lane Kiffin, where he needs the attention like people need oxygen. No. Mike Elko is forcing Texas A&M into the national. No, they are. He's already done it. Is that the right way? And again, it kind of starts with winning. If you can't do that, it doesn't matter what else you have. It's weird. You can be the greatest coach in the history of mankind, but if you don't win, it doesn't matter. But Lou, if you're the greatest coach in the history of mankind, you're going to win. Not true. Wrong place, wrong time. If you have the unalignment at a program, you can't win no matter how great you are. You can't overcome poor administration. You can't overcome a lack of funds. A lack of money. You can't win. It doesn't matter how great you are in the current system. So, it's fun to watch Elko work. It's fun to watch the A&M system work now. Now, I'm going to repeat, and I have to for a while. You say all this, Lou, how many national championships are going to win? We live at a time, it's harder than ever to win a national championship. It's harder than ever to take the final step. This format, and when it keeps expanding, I believe makes it harder and harder to win because the playoffs have more and more games, and it's longer and longer. And portals in the middle of playoffs. Remember it was January 1st? Oh, and there's still the college football playoffs going on? And you start losing depth while you're playing in playoff games, and that's more time for more injuries and more irrelevant things and semesters changing, and it's harder than it ever was to take the final step. And the Saban dynasty happened when you needed to win 2 games and you only had to beat 2 teams. And the gap between 1 and 4 in the country was eternal. So just my 2 cents. And if you need change back, let me know. 979-693-1150. Tom St. Martin with a text message. Maybe Lee, most importantly, no, he wins. That's the most importantly. There is no maybe most importantly. He wins. If he didn't win, it wouldn't matter. But it's still a good point. Mike Elko is obviously highly respected by his coaching peers, who are the best people to gauge how good a coach he is. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. You can light up the Texas Mobile and Loop Express inbox. Tell you what, up next, let's do the listening. Aggie baseball? No. Aggie basketball. Bucky summer practice update, but also in the Aggie basketball universe. This morning, updated bracketology. You can just answer to yourself, where do you think A&M is? Where do you think A&M is in the updated bracketology? I mean, they're in the tournament. Where? They had 4 seed, 9 seed. They playing in Dayton. We got to listen in. Bucky McMillan up next. This is the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Built on faith, family, and community. That's CC Electric.
The Louis Bellina Show. Dial 979-693-1150.
Hello.
To visit with him.
Hello.
Or to win.
Hello.
On the D4 Land Services Hotline. Dial 979-693-1150.
Time now that listen in. I mentioned Bucky McMillan, A&M basketball head coach, met with the media yesterday. Here's the update.
How have you seen McKenzie kind of integrate back in since he's been back in full contact?
He's been good. He's rusty, The game processing is not where he's going to be. Obviously, like anybody, if they sit out as long as he has. Physically looks good, though. I mean, the thing with McKenzie, he always gives you everything he's got. Like, he plays really hard. I know that's like a repetitive thing, but a lot of players that kind of come from his background, they can be prima donnas. That's not him. He's going to give you everything he's got, but games are probably a little too fast for him right now, which is what we expect. And my job as a coach is to get it to be able to play fast but seem slow, right? And he'll get there. But I'm pleased with where he is physically, that's for sure.
Having had to sit out a year, do you see him as a different player this year than maybe he was when he got here, from what he's observed?
I still see him as, just a really good player that can help us, compete in this league. I mean, he's got the size, the tools, the attributes. I mean, he's done it on big stages, obviously, in Power 4 basketball. So, everything's what I thought when we recruited him.
Given he's coming off an injury second time, do you want to be more careful with him the rest of the offseason, or do you feel like he's now at a place where he can just be full go and it's no big problem?
It's a great question. So, the thing with McKenzie, you got to hold him back. He played on a broken foot. And he, was just basically just toughing it out. He's just one of these really strong-willed people, always in the gym. So, he's somebody that, we got to really keep an eye on because he's gonna be out there, more than anybody. I mean, literally. I mean, you got guys that sit out, college basketball, because, they had a crick in their neck, they woke up funny, right? And, they're 18, 19 years old. I mean, this guy had broken bones in his foot playing, and because he just thought his mind could overcome it. So anyway, we got to keep an eye on it. But there's also different than football or anything like that because football a lot of times you wait till game day to get ready. The skill involved to be more like being a quarterback. He's got to get his skill back up and the timing with his receivers, get it right.
You want him to play in the Bahamas, or?
Yeah, he'll play. Yeah, I mean, he's practicing. I mean, it'll be easier for him to play than anything, assuming no setbacks, right? Yeah. So.
How much are you leaning on him and the other returners to really implement your system and how you guys run things around here for the new guys?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, obviously, the more returners you have, the better. These guys pick up on it pretty decent. Obviously, it's a little bit different, so the new guys will be an adjustment period for them. But, him and, Lucas Walls has helped a lot with that. Lucas, he played for me for years at Sanford. I recruited him for a while. His high school coach, we know them well. They kind of started doing some of the things we do before he even got there. So Josh helped a lot last year. Lucas is helping this year. But I do think that the standard of how hard we got to play and how you got to play in selfish, I think the reputation's out there that you're not going to play. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not going to share the ball and you're not going to play as hard as you can, you won't play. And so that's been something I think everybody is bought into. And when you have more time to recruit kids, we can recruit them and they know what they're getting into.
Does the age-based model change at all if it stands as it is? Does it change at all how you look at recruiting, roster building, anything like that?
Yeah, it will. I'm not onto it yet, because all of a sudden now we're looking at, you're looking at recruiting high school kids. Now all of a sudden everybody's may get another fifth year. So these poor high school kids is tough, just because of that. Now it changes hey, you just added a whole nother class. So, but I don't even take my mind there because every time you take your mind there, this is the way it's going to be. Something else comes in. right? All of a sudden, I'll blink and I'll be, you actually only get 3 years, and all these guys are out. So, you just got to take it in stride and roll with the punches. And that's when you get that, then you hold your breath for court cases and all the fun stuff.
Just from the lens of being a former high school coach for so long, what would your, I guess, advice be to these high school kids that are hoping to, break on to the college level, but it feels harder now with the portal?
I would say the first thing is don't be arrogant in any way. Be very appreciative if anybody's recruiting you. You will go a level low. The saying in high school, I always said this to my parents when I coached high school, is every player is a level below where they think they are and two levels below where their parents think they are, right? So, let's just amplify that and times it by 2. Let's say they're 2 levels below where they think they are and 4 levels below where their parents think they are and 6 levels below where their granddad or grandmom thinks they are, right? So let's amp that up and just say in this day and age, there's just not enough scholarships to go around, and now it is a journey. So we want to recruit players at the high school level that are good enough to play Power 4 basketball, and they can stay there 4 years. That's very rare there's not many players out there that can do that, right? We feel that we're going to find some of those. But for everybody else, getting to the Power 4 level is the goal. Probably going to have to go a lot different routes a lot of times, whether it's prep school, low major, mid major, to high major. All that's a little bit different. I do think it's better for players to get places where, they can play. I do think that's important.
Apologies for being redundant, but is there any updates on the 2 waiver guys? Bryson, Marcus.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about Mark. I don't even know what we can, with no updates. No updates. Nothing changed since last time. Yeah.
I want to ask about Jalen Shelley. How have you seen him kind of reintegrate after recovering from his injury, and do you feel like there's more that you can unlock from his game than what we might have seen at Loyola Marymount?
I think he's really good. I just think he's got all the attributes of a professional player. I mean, he's 6'9", it seems like a longer, with point guard skills, processes the game really quickly. You just got to get his shooting to a high level. But, I mean, he's got all the tools you got to have. Now it comes the intangibles. Can he have the toughness of Rashawn Agee? You know what I'm saying? Can he do it, those moments? That's really kind of the separator and all this stuff is, everybody's a good player and he has every physical attributes. Rashawn Agee, for his position, I was just out in Vegas at the Summer League watching Rashawn, and probably had none of the physical attributes to play a 5, in this league at his size. But he had just every intangible, from the vocal to the toughness and all that. And so when the bullet starts flying with Shelley, can he have that? Because if he has that, he's got the size, the length, the skill, all of that. But that's the other part that, I'm assuming he's got it. He's got 2 great parents. He's great to talk to, very smart. But, we got to see when the adversity strikes, you got that dog you got to have,
We talk about how important this work is in integrating the new guys with the guys that have been here before. Just where do you feel like you guys are in that process? Are you kind of at the spot you want to be at this point in time?
We're ahead of last year just because we have guys here, and we're able to practice. I like the group. No coach this time, he's like, I hate the group, but I actually like the group, There's some things that, we're definitely longer. We look more the part. It's going to be harder to score on us in the half court. I felt like last year, people could say we had some good scoring games, but I'm telling you, we finished in league play, analytically, the 3rd best defense in the league. For that group last year, I mean, that's crazy because we were so small. Usually you need length for that. And so I was very, above anything else, more proud of that than anything. This group is longer and should physically be a better defensive team. Should. So that we got to improve on. Now, we got to get, last year's group came in here, could shoot it to death because they were smaller. They had a little more skill, could pass it, could see the game, all that. And you can take it for granted sometimes. This group's got a little ways to go with that. And so our practice has got to be on to continue to develop our shooting and our processing. Like last year, you weren't going to see many times it's a 2-on-1 break and it doesn't get where it needs to go. Or 3-on-2, you know what I'm saying? Right now we can have a 2-on-1 break and can't figure out who to throw it to right now. There's only one other option, right? And it's not me standing out of bounds. So, we got to keep getting that part of our game, which we will. It's just kind of figuring out what your team needs. Yeah.
Long ways from November, but just wondering what kind of role do you sort of hope to see Jamie carve out for himself this year?
Jamie's improved a ton. He's in here, practicing. He comes in twice a day. He's been doing that since the season's over, and then obviously he's with Darby lifting weights. But, Jamie, I was at the summer league, and, I had those guys asking me about Jamie. Like, he's on people's radar. You don't get a lot of people that size that have shooting ability. He can make shots. He's long, and he started kind of developing and playing the game later than most people, Jamie's just got to keep working like he's working, but he's got to, the Conor McGregor line, like he's got to start now going to practice and going to games, not to take part, but to take over. And that's got to be his mindset, that he's here above all else to make it miserable for who's playing. Don't worry about playing good basketball. Like, make this guy hate you. And he's such a nice kid. That's easier said than done. But, when he takes it personal, you saw it at Texas last year, he took that personal. And so when he takes it personal, when he can get that with his tools, like he's going to be a force. And bigs, more than any other position, I feel, can develop and make the biggest jumps.
That was Bucky McMillan, A&M basketball head coach. Listening, met with the media yesterday after practice. Again, they're doing their summer practices. And we heard from him, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I'm sure there's more to come. That's your Aggie basketball update via the man himself, Bucky Ball. This is the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric on the Zone. This morning, Joe Lunardi updated bracketology. Top overall seed, Florida. Last team in, A&M plays them, Oklahoma State. The first team out, A&M plays them, LSU. A&M Hoops plays all three teams that have those title spots. Top overall seed, Florida. Aggies play them, if I'm not mistaken. Last team in, Oklahoma State. Aggies play them. Last team out, LSU. A&M plays them. But hey, wait a minute. What about the Aggies themselves? A&M, according to July bracketology, and we got time between now and Selection Sunday, so that could change, possibly. The Aggies are the first team on the last four byes. So they're bubbly, but they're safe, way safe. Not an argument conversation safe on the bubble. They're the first team on the last four byes, which equals a 9 seed. A&M would be in the Charlotte, regional 9 seed, taking on Miami, the 8 seed, paired with Florida, the number 1 overall seed in Lunardi's July bracketology. The SEC and the Big Ten are tied with 12 teams in. Holy cow, of course. And taking a look on the bubble, A&M last four byes, first team. Safe, still bubble world. LSU first team out. First team out. And Mississippi State deep on the wrong side of the bubble as the second team on the next four out. Hey, let me share a very unpleasant, unwanted, come on already headline. On Joe Lunardi's bracketology, the graphic, you click to go to it, it says Texas is a year early. And the story, I knew this before Lunardi had to headline it, but the story, I think, in college basketball offseason has been Longhorn basketball. Longhorn basketball. Because they had a top 5 portal class mixed in with kind of a top 10 high school class. And in 1 year, they've elevated themselves to a top 10 preseason program. What they do, the games will begin, we'll see. But their talent acquisition was absolutely insane, and they did what Texas do. They just threw money at it. And in the updated Lunardi bracketology, which the headline was, Texas is a year early, they're a 2 seed. They are a 2 seed. So Longhorn football, if I'm seeing this right, will be preseason 1 or 2. And Lunardi's telling us that Longhorn basketball is a year early, and they're on the 2 line, which puts them at 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they're a year early, according to Lunardi and bracketology. They're everywhere. Oh, and Longhorn baseball was in the College World Series this past year. They have arrived. They joined the SEC, and it did not take long, but Texas has arrived. We'll be back. We'll wrap up our first hour together. It's the Louis Bellina Show inside the Charles Schwab studio, Tuesday on the Zone.
Your home for Aggie football is the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Residential, commercial, industrial services is what they do at CC Electric. Going to wrap up our first hour together inside the lifestyles portion of the Louis Bellina Show. Today is one of those, mark it on your calendar. It's one of those holy type days. Today is National Mac and Cheese Day. You know, in my lifetime, and maybe I've just been a sheltered child, but I've never met anyone who said, I hate mac and cheese. Now, there's people who go, I prefer other things. Okay. But I've never met someone who goes, dude, I hate mac and cheese. Get that away from me. I can't smell it. Mac and cheese, I feel like, is universal. And think about the simplicity of mac and cheese. Give me some noodles and then drown it in cheese. Voila, the greatest meal of your life. Now, we know you can fancy it from there, and sometimes it's not fancy it. I mean, college days, can of tuna, tuna casserole, chop up some hot dogs, get you ground beef. Like, even that, you just added a third ingredient. Noodle, cheese, whatever meat you have in the kitchen. I know someone that did a bologna mac and cheese. God bless their soul. I've been lucky and blessed in my life to travel this great country. And back when I was traveling 2 decades and a half, almost 3, throughout the Big 12 and the SEC. In the SEC, mac and cheese is kind of gourmet-ish. Pimento mac and cheese, like everywhere we went. Pulled pork in pulled pork countries like Tennessee and the Carolinas. Mac and cheese. It wasn't just, we're slapping cheese. What was it? A 7 cheese mac and cheese. Life is good, man. The greatest mac and cheese I ever had, it was in Vegas. And it was decadent. It was a lobster mac and cheese. And, before I even felt guilty ordering it, but someone had recommended it and going, okay. But I'm like, come on. And no, it was like one of the best one bites of food I've ever had. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. But again, you can just get your box of Kraft and do nothing and smile and be happy. It just, you don't need to add anything else. And you just sit there with a smile and you have your bowl. Ronnie J texted, good morning, Lou-hoo. Don't talk about me too bad. I don't like it. Never had it. So there you go. See, Ronnie J, that's not a qualified opinion. You can't say you don't like it because you've never had it. So you don't know if you don't like it. That doesn't count. Come on now. Be fair. And then J84 backs up the, you don't have to do anything just straight out of the box. Absolutely. That's the genius of mac and cheese. That you can have like Michelin star chefs rack their brain over it, but you just throw it out of the box. And mac and cheese always wins. Mac and cheese is undefeated.